Hey, what's up, cousins? I'm Kendrick,
And I'm Talia.
and this is the Telling on Myself podcast. So let's touch up on that conversation about pornography.
We were talking about how it was something that impacted you in your childhood,
Yeah,
but we never actually got into it. So, how did it impact your childhood? Like,
I just seen it. I seen it at an early age. I was exposed to porn at super early age, and so um, being that impressionable at the time, I feel like it just really just sunk my mind on a roller coaster that a kid that age shouldn't necessarily be on when it comes to sexuality.
I think I remember, like, in middle school, I had this journal thing that we would like, it had like our calendars and all this stuff in there. And like, I drew so many like explicit little scenes of porn that I had watched because I would hang out with like, I had these older cousins and I would watch like things on their screen and I'd be like, huh, that's interesting. And it was porn. I didn't know it at first, but then afterwards, as I was getting older and I continued to see those things, I was like, I knew exactly what it was. And I remember going to the sixth grade and hearing somebody say the word horny, like just walking past me in the hallway. And I asked one of my friends, I was like, what does horny mean?
It was reverberating through the hall, horny, 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 and all of a sudden it hit your ears, and she
Yeah.
heard that word before.
Well, for some reason, I feel like that was the first time I ever heard the word. But anyway, she was like, "Yo, it just means like whenever you like, like you want to have sex." And I was like, "Sex?" Right. I knew it. I at
You
that
said in
point.
the fourth grade?
Nah, sixth
Oh,
grade.
okay.
Nah, heck
I'm
no.
gonna
I
say,
don't even remember the
man,
fourth grade.
that's a real deal these days. Like middle school kids getting pregnant, it's crazy.
Man, I can't tell these kids apart now. Like some of these, honestly, some of these girls that are like 17, 18 years old are looking like
21,
closer to
22.
us than we are, obviously closer to them, but they look closer to us than we ever looked at that age, like to people that are like in their late 20s to early 30s, like.
Yeah, that's insane. Like even just having like teacher friends who will like kind of give game like, bro, being a teacher is difficult for a lot of different reasons. He was like, um but like one of the main reasons is like, man, these little girls be so fast these days, like they'll make these like crazy types of like advances on teachers and stuff,
Yikes.
and like not only that, and he was like, and not to be taken out of context. Whatever you do, nigga, you can take me anywhere in the world, but please don't take me out of context. I'm like, all right,
What's the context
keep
here?
going.
I'm intrigued
He's
too.
like,
Sure.
man, bruh, like some of these kids, he's like, man, they develop like, man, they look like some of these girls look like grown women. Come to school like dressed like grown women, like bodies fully developed like
All them hormones and all
grown
this stuff
women,
we're consuming, like, man, girls are developing quicker than we
like
ever did.
especially when you start getting around like junior, senior, or whatever. And boy, I was like, yeah, man, it's a dangerous place. He's like, man, I done had a couple people done fell on the sword already.
I've seen a rise in like the women, the female teachers like having inappropriate relationships with like 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. I'm like, man, 13 and 14-year-olds, like they don't even know how to wipe their like
That's crazy,
like
man.
what, like I look at a 13-year-old and I look at them in disgust. Not like that, but like I look at them and like you're a kid, like you have BO and shit. Like you're not like me as a grown woman. There is nothing about that would entice me, make me horny, make me anything towards a child.
Yeah.
Like that's effing weird.
Yeah, it has really become a rise in the female teachers for sure. And it's like, dang, where were these teachers when we was in school? Like that's crazy. I know, that's crazy. We had like one or two that it was rumored was getting tagged by like students. But the crazy but see back then though, we grew up in a different like generation, and so
Our teachers look like teachers. Like our teachers look old and like
yeah, they look like, oh, that's a teacher. She's like 80.
right.
But like in this generation, this is the generation of like stepping and stomping and drilling and stabbing and killing and shoot and all of that. Like in
Sheesh.
our generation, it was a generation of like keeping it player. Like it was
Mm.
cool to like keep it under wraps. Like it was cool to like not be like ratting and like snitching, just different things like that. And so if we did have a teacher that was like that, 9 times out of 7 she would have never got caught because we was stitch lip with it. Like we stitch lip. We
Y'all were
ain't
trying to
telling
keep it
nothing.
going, cause
We like, man, yeah. I mean, we tell each other like, man, so and so, was whatever. But we was all on the same type of time though. So,
right. But I feel like also like the teachers, like I feel like if you either as a woman or a man, you look at a 13 or 14 or 15-year-old child and you want to have a relationship with them, whether it be physical or emotional, that makes me think that you are not physically, but you're mentally and emotionally stunted at an age that you think that this is okay. And that normally happens to people that have gone through some sort of trauma, which is really sad. But then they turn into these monsters, into people that literally groom children. Like, there is nothing that you should have in common with a 13 through 15 whatever year old, like.
yeah.
But anyway, we done got sidetracked. Let's go back to the original question.
So let's talk about porn, part two. Um, for me, like for a long time, porn affected my relationships in a way that like I wouldn't necessarily like have to have sex because I could just watch porn.
Right.
Um, my convictions was telling me that I shouldn't have been having like premarital sex anyway.
Right.
And so to kind of pacify that area of not having premarital sex or to try
You're trying to take the lesser
to
charge.
pacify, yeah, yeah. So like to pacify that area of trying not to have premarital sex,
Right.
I use porn as an outlet there. Watching porn as an alternative for me having sex. Like I don't feel as bad watching porn and jerking off to something on a screen as opposed to like me just smashing different chicks in real time in real life.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, you're gonna take the lesser charge, but then I think even if you do the thing to pacify or to like dull the severity of something, like, oh, I'm not doing this, so I'm just going to do this, you build a habit and habits are hard to break. So then if you're in a healthy relationship, or let's say even now you're married, and now there should be no convictions about having sex because it's not premarital anymore. So at that point, you're going to be fighting your habit of doing it all the time, rather than just having sex with your wife.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, like all of that boiled down to an immature response leading to an unhealthy habit.
Right.
So just the immaturity of thinking, well, instead of having sex with just all these different women, let me just watch porn, like, and that'll be a better alternative.
Yeah.
But in actuality, that's not a better alternative because now we start talking about the negative patterns and negative habits that you build and create that maybe down the line, whenever you are in like, a healthy relationship
Mm.
type of situation, it can hinder that.
Now that even though you are in a place in your life that you can just have sex, it's hard to break a habit that you've had, because what, you got married, how old were you when you got married? 29? Yeah, because we were married by then, 29. Because we had your 30th birthday at the Sky
I was
Lounge.
30.
You were 30? Oh, and that's right. Because yeah, we got married after that, like a few months after.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were 30 years old. So that means at some point in your early 20s, you were probably still having sex. And then as you um, grew your faith, grew your relationship with Christ, you started feeling convictions of doing that. So then,
But I was knee deep into my habits already though. I was waist deep into my habit. I was like shoulder level in my habits already. Like yeah, I'd be convicted, but at the same time, again, it's like
but I could be
a
doing
habit,
worse.
bro. Like,
Yeah.
and then yeah, sometimes there's that rationale where it's like, well, this not as bad. But to be honest, because I don't really think like that. Like I know when something's like bad, and I know when
Mm.
something's good, and so to me it makes no sense to actually try to talk myself into something bad, like in a way that like I'm like promoting it to myself as being good. Like that's I know that's not true. So it's like instead of being like, oh, well, this isn't as bad, me watching porn as opposed to that, I just don't think about that.
I
It's
got
like
you.
I'm not even gonna waste my time being like, oh, well, it's not as bad. No, 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 it's bad. I get it. I know it's bad. Like, so I'm not even having that conversation. So it don't even cross my mind really, the whole like that type of comparison. Getting to like that original question, what was something that impacted your life like at an early age? When I said pornography, um, I really meant like something that negatively impacted my life at an early age. Like it really set the course for my life to go down like a rabbit hole, like a rabbit hole for sure. Because like porn, without any warning, metastasize into just anything. You start off watching just typical, regular, just porn,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden you're watching a mukbang. Like, what the heck? What is a
I thought a
mukbang?
no, that's not a mukbang. A mukbang is when you eat a bunch of food in front.
Oh, well, they might be eating a bunch of food. But anyway,
It is not. Oh my gosh, a muk.
well, so you go from just
Are you
like
talking about
gangbang.
a
I
gangbang?
mean, it's just like, bro, you go from regular porn to like all of a sudden you watching a threesome, then all of a sudden you watching like a foursome, then all of a sudden you watching like a gangbang, then all of a sudden you watching like couple swapping, then all of a sudden you watching orgies, smashing the boss. You late on rent, now you gotta smash the boss. Like what kind of archaic ass consequences
The
is it?
AC guy is here to fix.
Yeah, man, the plumber's here to fix a leak.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, bro? So now all of a sudden, your brain is downloading just all different types of variations of just pornographic topics and stuff.
Getting
Stuff that you're
desensitized.
totally desensitized. Like things that aren't actually like shit that's like beyond taboo.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, and then the brain, like you can't control how the brain operates per se.
Yeah.
Like you can't dictate how it's gonna store different types of information and experiences and how they're gonna like come back up later, resurface in the mind,
Right.
resurface in action.
And something gets triggered. You don't even know because you just got triggered. Like you weren't expecting it. It just happened. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where you find yourself watching this crazy porn. And you're like, how did I get here? And it's like once you're done, you like look at it in disgust. Like, ugh,
Oh my
why am I
God.
watching that?
Like wringing your hand off and shit. Oh my gosh.
I need a freaking wipe. I gotta wipe my
Oh
phone
man,
down. This is
oh,
dirty.
this is horrible, bro. Like, man, this is horrible. If I put this one beat on the loudspeaker, wait, boom, boom, boom.
Mhm.
I feel like I've heard that. Oh, you
No, I don't
sad,
know what that is.
Oh boy, but when you hear it like with the actual instruments, you'll be like,
Oh, is it the bottom? That just sounds like any 90s shows like random transition music.
do me a favor, go to YouTube real quick. All right, watch this. Go to the search bar.
Okay. Were you gonna try to tell me to spell whatever? Do it again?
Oh, sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it sounds familiar, but I can't like
Yeah, because that's a sound that has so pierced your subconscious that when you hear it, it's like, man, that just sounds so familiar. But until you associate with what makes it sound so familiar, you're like, oh wow, let's try it one more time.
Is that the Pornhub sound?
Yeah.
Oh no. Why
Yeah.
did I know that?
All right. Why did you? Porn has definitely played a major contributing factor to just about my demise. Yeah.
Do you think that it gave you unrealistic expectations of to what sex is supposed to be like
Oh
all the
man,
time?
1000%. Yeah, definitely unrealistic expectations, peaking like taboo like urges, and just wanting to just like go down like a rabbit hole of exploration. Um, and then when you look up online, like it's just metastasized. Just the sexuality, just everything associated with it. Like, I mean, everything from like the OnlyFans to the billboards about like
Tiger
things.
Cabaret,
Yeah.
if you're in Dallas, up 30.
It's just everything just has to do with sex. Like
Mm,
everything is sexually charged for the most part. It's
yeah.
like hard to escape it. And so, just coupling watching porn in general with just how much sexually charged content we're exposed to all throughout the day, every day. I
Mhm.
mean, it really does just kind of turn into like a snowball effect.
Yeah, you're super desensitized. You start. Somebody on Twitter was talking about, like, man, we had to work for these pictures back in the day because the girls like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was called, I think it was Titty Tuesday
Oh yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
Twitter, and
yeah.
somebody was like, man, like these youngins got it easy now. Like we had to work.
Yeah. Nowadays, you can see your crush on OnlyFans. You can see
Mm-hmm.
like your old crush from school, or you can see like your coworker, or you can see, celebrities or whoever, like whoever just like want to make OnlyFans and like make you pay $7 for some titties, like
But it,
like people pay for OnlyFans and for people that they literally can watch on Pornhub for free.
yeah, but I think the appeal to OnlyFans is that it's people that you know. I think that curiosity is a hard thing to not itch. It's hard to not itch your curiosity. So like if you know, like let's like for example, if I started one tomorrow, I guarantee you that it would do well because people are like, what? Like, cause I'm, I have no plans of starting an OnlyFans, but when people know you, they like, that's why like that high school crush or like whatever, like, how many girls have had to message girls that have OnlyFans to tell them can they block their man or their husband or whatever, like,
Like sexually charged content is very interesting because of just the different avenues that it can take. Like just how you mentioned the girl who may have the OnlyFans, who has a subscriber, who's like some dude maybe she went to school with, or whatever the
mm-hmm,
case may be, that's now subscribed, and like now that person's
spouse or
spouse,
wife or
partner,
girlfriend.
girlfriend, whatever, like now they know that the guy has access to the OnlyFans. Now they're, like you say, reaching out to the chick. Hey, can you block this person? And they like, block my back. Why would I block my bag for what? Like,
Yeah.
even if it is $7, $6, $12, $10, whatever the case may be. It may not be like some sort of just like egregiously crazy amount. It's like, oh wow, it's just $5, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But you got 3,000 people paying $5, per month.
Hey, that's a
Um,
come on, Brooklyn.
Shoot. But for that almighty dollar, like people will really let other people hang themselves or jump off a bridge in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, we're a very individualistic society. Like, we don't really, like, that don't affect me none.
The power of sex, bro, like it's crazy. They're starting to learn about like sexually charged topics and have sexually charged conversations and stuff in like elementary school now. Like that's wild. And again, when I was first exposed to porn, I was in like elementary school.
Mhm.
And like, look what type of course it set me on. Nah, bro, like I can relate from personal experience to be like, man, I really wish like I wasn't exposed to pornography at the age that I was, because it could have helped me avoid so many different pitfalls. Plus, it probably would have boosted my self esteem, my confidence, just as a person, etc. Because being exposed to sex prematurely can impact those areas.
Right.
Like, I mean, think about the unrealistic expectation that porn creates. And so now, like the person who's consuming the porn habitually, it's creating an unrealistic expectation in their mind that either they can't deliver or they can't necessarily achieve or receive.
Mhm.
And so now they depressed, or like now they're not as confident because it's like, dang, you know, well so and so was dogging over the balcony for 20 minutes straight pound town. I only got about 4 or 5 minutes in
Man,
me.
that's so crazy because growing up and like watching porn, I used to think like that people used to have sex for hours. So like whenever I became sexually active and I was starting to like have sex, I'd be like, this is something's
This is it. We're only gonna do it for 4 hours. What is this?
and the heck no. I was like that was only like 10 minutes. What is going on?
Yeah.
And then, as I got older and like I realized, I was like, no, that's normal. Like people don't have sex for more than maybe 30, 40 minutes, like max at the most. Unless you're like taking some stuff to like make yourself last longer, like, and especially if you are having sex with somebody that you're attracted to, that you're feeling or whatever, like, duh, like I understand why people in porn may last for so long because that's like their job. Like, yeah, I'm sure they have some sort of like degree of pleasure, but like I've watched plenty documentaries, and there was like one documentary in particular where this girl was like, "Yeah, we've been shooting for 8 hours. I'm dehydrated," and I'm just like, and then she would go back and just like start doing her thing again, like, and I'm like, dang, I mean, she's selling it. It looks like she's enjoying herself. It looks like she's going crazy. But then as soon as she would hop off, like, and you could see like the behind the scenes, she was like, oh, I'm getting sore and I'm so tired and I'm just so dehydrated. And I was like, yeah, like, they're making it seem like this is normal. This is not normal. It shouldn't be a freaking marathon. Like, I think that set a very unrealistic expectation for me. I was confused.
Fantasies that they selling. They just selling fantasy. They just selling dreams.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think with me, with when I started watching porn when I was, first of all, I think it's crazy the things that we'll do, the lengths that we'll go, even as kids, to watch porn. I remember, and like, you would be putting yourselves in the most like kind of bad situations, like using the house computer. Like the, I,
Without knowing where to find that history erase
right. Oh, well, no,
button.
I learned real quick I turned off cookies. I did all that stuff. And I remember like my dad would come upstairs and he's like, oh, I'm gonna use the computer. And man, if he started typing anything with a P,
Oh my gosh.
I'd be like, oh
What do you
man.
mean? Pharmaceutical, doctor. What do you
Right. And it would be stuff like that. He'd be like, Parkland Insurance. And I'd be like, Pornhub. Um, but it got to the point where like, I was watching it on the house computer. I remember like I don't know if it was HBO or start something,
It
um,
was probably a Cinemax.
one of them things
Yeah.
they would have like these late night shows.
Yeah.
I think one of them was called like Taxi Confessions
Oh, thanks
and
for comparing. That was HBO.
HBO, and then Real Sex. There was like, a few things that would come on late at night, and like I made sure that I had like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon on like the recall button. Like, like you
Yeah,
do
flip it
all
right here. Just hit
these
that button. Flip, flip,
like look at how it's molding you to be. It's
flip,
molding you
flip.
to be like sneaky. It's molding you to be
Manipulative.
yeah, like you start lying, you start hiding, you start doing all kinds of stuff. It's like the repercussions and the I guess what you get from watching porn at such an early age when you are impressionable, where you are molding your brain and your mind and your personality and how you are, like that's a part of you now. Like now you're learning how to lie to your parents, to the people around you. You're thinking thoughts that someone your age shouldn't be thinking. I would be daydreaming at school about scenes that I would watch and putting myself in the scenes and all this stuff. I'd be like, man, like it starts consuming you because it's like you know you're not supposed to have it and you know you're not supposed to watch it. So like all the more you want to do those things.
Yeah, man. Porn. Yeah, man. Porn has ruined my life, man. I don't mean like
I'm like, dang, is that serious?
yeah, and I don't mean from the standpoint. I don't really mean like ruin my life per se, but I definitely feel like porn has robbed a lot of my life. I feel like it's robbed a lot of different elements of meaning, of purpose, of identity, of expectations, just like a lot of different areas that pornography tends to touch that you don't necessarily consider when you going into it. You know what I'm saying? You don't really think about that in the moment. In this moment, all I'm thinking about is shooting to the moon. That's about it. I could care less about anything else but shooting to the moon, man.
Right. Yeah, man. So we need to make a, I think we do need to make an effort to, man, and it's just hard nowadays too because man, you give a kid a phone now at like what 9, 10 years old, maybe sometimes even younger because these kids come out the womb knowing how to work a freaking iPad. But like, you know, you give the kid the iPad, the phone, like those things, like, yeah, you can put restrictions on them, but like when you're, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna think about it when we have kids and like they're of an age, and I'm sure by then things will be even more advanced. Like, so thank goodness that we're from an age that we're not. I think millennials, like our age group, we are very lucky because Gen X, our parents, and boomers and the silent whatever, all of them before us, like they had no technology. Like I mean, they had technologies, but they
Gen
didn't.
X was before us.
Gen X is like our parents.
Generation X. Oh yeah, Generation X.
Yeah. Um, so I think that those generations like they had advancements and stuff, but they didn't have like we are the ones that were in like our adolescent years when like the internet, well, we were, no, like it was like 97 or something like that, or 96, 97 when the internet was invented, or when Google was invented, one of the two, I forget which one. But either way, like there was no social medias, there was none of that. But we were able to be at the perfect age to learn how to work everything that came before us and everything that was happening and then now. Like our parents, like they still struggle with technology right now. So like there's things that's why they're vulnerable and they can get taken advantage of. That's why people scam them all the time. Like, oh yes, I need to come and fix this computer thing for you, and it's like nothing. Like, but they'll never know. That's like somebody coming to fix our washer and dryer, and we'll be like, okay, that needs it, cool, because we don't know how to fix washer and dryers. So it's like we are lucky enough that we get to really know what's going on and like continue to grow as things advance and things grow. So whenever we have kids and like they're at that age, like man, y'all are getting Life 360, which is a thing that tracks them at all times. Um, you lock certain pages and certain things like because kids nowadays like you could just search on your phone. You can just search the porn website and it'll pop up. There's no restrictions, there's nothing. Your phone is a mini computer in your pocket. It's a mini camera, a mini phone, and a mini computer.
Yeah, by the time we have kids, it'll be a very, very, very advanced mini phone, computer, etc.
Well, somebody said that that thing that Apple just came out with, they said that the last time something like that came out, it was the iPhone, 2007. So they were like, it's about to change the way that we do everything. These things, kind of like Enter Player One or whatever from Black Mirror, it's going to be just like that, except it's going to be mixed reality. So like instead of having a phone call, you both put on whatever and you see yourselves as like holograms, like talking to each other. Like,
Yeah, yeah, they was grooming us with the Power Rangers.
oh yeah,
I mean, Zordon. I think that's what his name was, like the little thing,
yeah,
the little
the
gray face,
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
face
yeah.
thing or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what made me say that, because it wasn't like no like crazy, really good example.
No, No, but I mean, those things are, you see things on screens, holograms, and all kinds of
I mean,
stuff.
all the movies, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the Tony Starks, like,
Right, they have the little.
just
Right, yeah. And that's how it's gonna be. This is that you're gonna be able to talk to people. You're gonna be able to wear digital clothing. You're gonna be able to do all kinds of different stuff, and you're gonna be able to like, um, they say like when you're driving, you can put it on and it gives you directions as you're looking at like the road, like all kinds of crazy stuff. So you can only imagine, especially if we're talking about porn, like you're gonna walk in on people like all kinds of
right.
crazy shit, like in their room, like in the actual reality, because it's only gonna get worse. Like this is never. I think we're at a point of like past. We're a point of no return. We're past the point of no return. Like there is no hiding from sex and hiding from porn. It's everywhere. It's just making the effort to not watch porn and masturbate and let it consume you so much so that it starts affecting your personal, your intimacy with like your partner, or even like just how you view yourself, how you compare yourself in your performance or whatever.
Because at the end of the day, um, regardless of how people want to admit or acknowledge, like porn definitely impacts people
Mm.
to varying degrees, but none of those degrees that I've ever heard of were ever positive. All right, guys, that's our time.
And don't forget, if you have any type of topics that you want us to go over or make episodes about, leave it down in the comments.
And also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
So you
And
don't miss the next one.
stay tuned for the next episode. Get ready for the next episode.